The massive alien ships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their hulls gleaming with unknown metals that seemed to bend light around them. Commander Zakthor stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, his forearms crossed as he watched the primitive blue planet grow larger in the viewscreen. His species, the Kethmori, had conquered 17 worlds in the past decade, and each victory had been easier than the last. Another backward civilization, muttered his second-in-command, Lieutenant Vexna, her serpentine tail coiling around her chair. Look at their cities, still using combustion engines and crude energy sources. This should take no more than a few hours. Zakthor nodded, his mandibles clicking in agreement. The Galactic Coalition had sent them to bring Earth into the fold, just like they had done with countless other worlds. The process was always the same: demonstrate superior technology, showcase military might, and watch the local population submit. Most species were smart enough to surrender after seeing a single display of galactic weaponry. The ships landed in a coordinated formation across major population centers. In Beijing, London, New York, and Moscow, the sleek vessels touched down in central squares, their landing gear extending with mechanical precision. Crowds gathered, some running in fear, others recording with their primitive devices. Zakthor teleported directly to the landing zone in Geneva, where Earth's leaders had hastily assembled. The United Nations building buzzed with activity as diplomats and military officials tried to process what was happening. The alien commander materialized in a shimmer of blue energy, his impressive 8-foot frame casting a shadow over the assembled humans. "People of Earth," Zakthor announced, his voice amplified by translation devices. "I am Commander Zakthor of the Galactic Coalition Third Fleet. Your world has been selected for integration into our civilization. Resistance is futile and unnecessary. Submit peacefully, and your species will be preserved." Secretary General Chen Wei stepped forward, his hands trembling slightly despite his diplomatic training. "Commander, we appreciate your visit, but Earth is not ready for such integration. Perhaps we could discuss terms, establish trade relationships first?" Zakthor's laugh was a harsh chittering sound. "Terms, trade?" He gestured to his soldiers, who had formed a perimeter around the building. Each warrior wore powered armor that hummed with energy fields, carrying weapons that could level city blocks. "You have nothing we want except compliance. Your technology is primitive, your resources common, and your military capabilities." He paused, scanning data on his wrist device. "Laughable." General Harrison, the American Joint Chiefs representative, stepped forward. "Our military may not match yours technologically, but we have capabilities you might not understand. Human determination, strategy, fighting spirit. Vexna had joined them, materializing beside her commander. "Commander, their combat data is amusing. They still engage in physical combat without enhancement suits. They practice something called martial arts, where they wave their limbs around and shout." She displayed a holographic compilation of human fighting techniques. Boxing matches, karate demonstrations, military training exercises. The alien soldiers burst into laughter, a sound like grinding metal mixed with wind chimes. Zakthor studied the images with obvious disdain. Fascinating. Physical combat without energy weapons or genetic modification. How do they expect to damage anything meaningful? "Sir," interrupted Captain Mordak, a hulking brute whose species had evolved from predatory hunters. "Their strongest warriors appear to practice something called kung fu and martial arts. According to our scans, they believe punching and kicking can be effective in combat." His tusks gleamed as he grinned. "Shall we demonstrate why such beliefs are foolish?" Dr. Sarah Martinez, Earth's head of xenobiology, had been studying the aliens' behavior patterns since their arrival. She noticed something important in their dismissive attitudes. "Commander," she said carefully, "you seem very confident about human capabilities. Would you be interested in a demonstration?" Zakthor's primary eyes focused on her while his secondary eyes continued scanning for threats. "A demonstration of what?" "Your primitive fighting techniques?" "Exactly," Dr. Martinez replied. "If human martial arts are as useless as you claim, surely you wouldn't mind proving it. A simple contest between one of your soldiers and one of our martial artists. When your warrior wins easily, it will prove your point about human weakness." The alien commander considered this. Public demonstrations of superiority were valuable for psychological warfare. Breaking human morale completely would make the occupation smoother. "Very well. Choose your strongest warrior. We will select an appropriate opponent. Secretary General Chen exchanged glances with the other officials. They had discussed this possibility in emergency sessions, though no one had expected to need the plan so soon. We would like to contact someone specific. He lives in a monastery in the mountains of China. His name is Master Liu Wei, and he has devoted his entire life to martial arts. A monastery? Vexna's translator made her laughter sound like tinkling bells. They send priests to fight wars? This becomes more entertaining by the moment. How long to retrieve this master? Zackthor asked. Give us 6 hours, General Harrison said. We'll need to transport him here and explain the situation. 6 hours, the commander agreed. Use this time to prepare your finest warrior. We will use it to decide which of our soldiers deserves the honor of demonstrating galactic superiority. He looked around at the assembled humans. I suggest you also use this time to prepare surrender documents. After your champion falls, we expect immediate capitulation. As the aliens returned to their ships, the human officials immediately began coordinating. Secure communications went out to a small monastery in the Shaolin Mountains, where an old monk was tending his garden in the morning sun. Master Liu Wei had spent 70 years perfecting his art, far from the modern world's conflicts. He had no idea that in 6 hours he would carry the hopes of his entire species. In orbit above Earth, Zackthor reviewed his troop roster. The demonstration would require someone impressive but not their absolute best. No need to use their elite warriors against primitive humans. He selected Warrior Prime Grathel, a 7-foot-tall soldier whose species prided themselves on physical prowess. Grathel's natural bone armor and enhanced reflexes would make short work of any human opponent. The countdown began, and both sides prepared for a contest that would determine the fate of Earth. Neither the aliens nor most humans truly understood what was about to unfold. High in the mountains of Henan Province, Master Liu Wei knelt in his garden as morning mist drifted between ancient pine trees. At 72 years old, his movements remained fluid as water, each gesture precise and deliberate. He was transplanting seedlings when his student brother Chen came running up the stone path with unusual urgency. Master, Brother Chen called out, breathless from his climb. There are visitors at the gate. Military officials with vehicles. They say it's urgent about defending our country. Master Liu Wei continued his work, gently patting soil around a young bamboo shoot. Violence is never urgent, my son. Only peace requires immediate attention. But something in his student's voice made him pause. In 40 years at this monastery, no military officials had ever visited. Master, they say the entire world is in danger. There are foreigners, not from any country on Earth. The old monk's hands stilled. He had spent decades learning to feel the flow of energy through all living things, and today that flow felt disturbed, agitated. Rising gracefully to his feet, he brushed dirt from his simple brown robes. Show them in. Colonel Wang of the People's Liberation Army stood awkwardly in the monastery's main hall, his modern uniform contrasting sharply with the ancient wooden beams and faded paintings of dragons. Beside him, Dr. Liu Mei from the Chinese Academy of Sciences clutched a tablet showing news feeds from around the world. Master Liu Wei, Colonel Wang began formally, I apologize for disturbing your peace, but our nation faces an unprecedented crisis. Alien beings have landed on Earth. They demand our surrender and mock our ability to defend ourselves. The monk's expression remained calm, but his eyes sharpened. Alien beings. Dr. Liu Mei stepped forward, showing him footage on her tablet. The massive ships, the armored soldiers, Commander Zackthor's declaration. They consider our military technology primitive. They laughed at our fighting methods, particularly martial arts. They've agreed to a demonstration of combat to prove their superiority. Master Liu Wei watched the footage in silence, his weathered fingers steepled before him. The aliens moved with confidence born of countless victories, but their dismissal of human capabilities showed dangerous arrogance. Why do you come to me? Because you are the finest martial artist in China, perhaps in the world, Colonel Wang replied. The government has records of your achievements before you came to this monastery. 20 years undefeated in national competitions. Master of 17 different fighting styles. If anyone can represent humanity's fighting spirit, it is you. The monk turned toward the windows where clouds drifted between mountain peaks. I left competition behind long ago. I found that defeating others brought no peace, only temporary pride followed by emptiness. Master, Dr. Liu Mei said softly, This isn't about pride or competition. This is about the freedom of our entire species. If their warrior defeats our champion easily, they will assume we're helpless. But if we can show them that humans possess capabilities they don't understand, you believe I could defeat their warrior? Colonel Wong hesitated. Honestly? Their soldiers wear powered armor and have advanced technology, but they've never faced someone like you. Your abilities, some of the things in your file seem impossible. Master Liu Wei smiled slightly. What seems impossible to those who have not experienced it becomes natural to those who have. Very well. I will come. The helicopter ride to Beijing was the monk's first time leaving the mountains in over a decade. He sat in meditation posture despite the aircraft's vibration, drawing curious glances from the flight crew. His presence seemed to calm the mechanical chaos around him. Meanwhile, in Geneva, the alien preparations were proceeding with military efficiency. Warrior Prime Grathel stood in the ship's combat bay, running through weapons checks on his battle armor. His species, the Vortok, had evolved from pack hunters on a high-gravity world. His bones were dense as stone, his reflexes enhanced by genetic modification, and his armor multiplied his already formidable strength tenfold. This is almost insulting, Grathel grumbled to his squad mates. I've fought crystalline warriors on Thex Prime and Steelhide, berserkers on Colin 7. Now they want me to battle a 70-year-old human priest who practices meditation combat. Lieutenant Vexna slithered into the bay, her scales gleaming under the artificial lights. The commander wants this to be convincing. The human leaders need to see their champion utterly crushed, so they'll surrender immediately afterward. Make it dramatic but decisive. Grathel flexed his forearms, each as thick as a human torso. How dramatic can it be? Their master probably weighs 60 kilograms. I could accidentally break him by breathing too hard. According to their transmissions, this Liu Wei character has an interesting history, Vexna said, consulting her data pad. Undefeated in combat competitions for 20 years. Claims of unusual physical capabilities, breaking stone and metal with bare hands. Breaking stone? Grathel laughed. My armor can withstand plasma cannon fire. What's he going to do, give me a massage? Back on Earth, Master Liu Wei had arrived in Geneva and was meeting with the human leadership team. Secretary General Chen was struck by the monk's presence. Despite his age and simple clothing, there was something profound about him. A sense of deep stillness that seemed to calm everyone in the room. Master Liu, Dr. Martinez began, we need to explain what you'll be facing. Their warrior is significantly larger than any human, wears advanced armor and possesses enhanced physical capabilities. Are you certain about this? The monk sipped tea that had been prepared for him, his movements graceful and unhurried. Tell me about their technology. How does their armor work? General Harrison pulled up technical scans. Our instruments detect energy field generators, strength amplifiers, impact dispersal systems. Essentially, it turns the wearer into a walking tank. And without the armor? Still formidable. Their species is naturally stronger and faster than humans. Master Liu Wei nodded thoughtfully. I see, they have made themselves very hard like iron, but what is harder than iron? The officials exchanged puzzled glances. Stronger metals, diamond? Their own technology? Water, the monk replied simply. Water is soft, yet it shapes mountains. It flows around obstacles, finding every weakness, never fighting what cannot be overcome. He set down his teacup. When may I meet this warrior? The demonstration is scheduled for 2 hours from now, Secretary General Chen said. Master, if this goes badly, if their warrior defeats you easily, they've made it clear they expect immediate surrender. The fate of our entire species may rest on this moment. Master Liu Wei stood, his movement flowing like rising mist. Then I should prepare. Is there a quiet space where I may meditate? They led him to a small room in the UN building. As the door closed, the monk began a series of gentle movements, each one connected to the next in an endless cycle. To observers, it might have looked like simple stretching or dance. But Master Liu Wei was doing something far more profound. He was awakening abilities that most humans had forgotten they possessed, touching energy flows that connected all living things, preparing his body and spirit for a confrontation that would determine whether humanity would remain free or become another conquered species in the Galactic Empire. Outside, the alien ships hummed with anticipation, their crews eager to witness another easy victory. None of them suspected that they were about to encounter something entirely outside their understanding of what was possible. The confrontation was arranged in the main plaza outside the United Nations building. Alien technology had cleared the area and established an energy barrier to contain the demonstration. Massive holographic displays projected the scene to billions of viewers worldwide, while similar broadcasts reached every ship in the Galactic fleet. Commander Zackthor stood on a raised platform with the human officials, his forearms gesturing as he explained the proceedings to his subordinates. This demonstration serves multiple purposes. First, it shows humans the futility of resistance. Second, it establishes our dominance for the galactic record. Third, it provides entertainment for the crew. Below in the plaza, Warrior Prime Grathel completed his equipment checks. His battle armor gleamed with integrated weapon systems and energy shields. Standing 8 feet tall in the suit, he was an imposing figure of technological might. Diagnostic readouts showed all systems optimal. Strength enhancement at 300%. Reaction time boosted to superhuman levels. Defensive fields active. Initiating combat protocols, his armor's AI announced in his earpiece. Opponent analysis. Elderly human male, approximately 1.7 meters, 65 kilograms, no visible weapons or armor. Threat assessment. Negligible. On the opposite side of the plaza, Master Liu Wei walked slowly toward the designated combat zone. He had changed from his simple robes into traditional white kung fu clothing, his movements unhurried despite the momentous occasion. Human security forces watched nervously, while news crews zoomed in on his weathered but serene face. Dr. Martinez spoke into her communicator. "Master, you're being broadcast to the entire world. Millions of people are watching, hoping you can show these aliens that humanity isn't helpless." The monk's response was calm. "When one seeks to impress others, one loses focus on what matters. Today I will simply be myself." The two fighters approached the center of the plaza. Up close, the size difference was even more dramatic. Grathel's armored bulk cast a shadow over the elderly human, who looked fragile by comparison. The alien warrior's helmet retracted, revealing a fierce face with predatory features and gleaming tusks. "So you are Earth's greatest warrior," Grathel said, his voice amplified by his suit's speakers. "I expected someone larger. Are you certain you want to proceed? I would hate to accidentally kill you before proving my point." Master Liu Wei studied his opponent with quiet interest. "You carry much metal, young one. Does it make you feel strong?" The alien's laughter was harsh. "This armor increases my natural abilities threefold. I could lift a vehicle over my head, punch through solid stone, move faster than your eyes can follow. What do you have to match this?" The monk smiled gently. "I have what I have always had. Nothing more, nothing less." Commander Zackthor activated the arena's recording systems. "Begin when ready. The demonstration will continue until the human surrenders or is incapacitated. Lethal force is authorized if necessary." Grathel immediately activated his combat systems. Energy coursed through his armor as strength enhancers came online. He struck a fighting pose that would have been impressive on any world. Forearms positioned for maximum striking power, weight balanced for explosive movement. Master Liu Wei simply stood quietly, his hands at his sides, breathing slowly. To most observers, he appeared to be doing nothing at all. "Is he afraid?" Vexana asked from the command platform. "He's not even raising his hands to defend himself." "Maybe he's praying to his ancestors," Captain Mordak suggested with amusement. But Dr. Martinez, watching through binoculars, noticed something the aliens missed. The air around Master Liu Wei seemed different somehow. Not visibly, but the quality of light, the way shadows fell, the movement of dust motes, everything near him appeared more coordinated. Grathel began circling his opponent, his armored footsteps echoing in the plaza. "Your people watch, old man. Will you make them proud by fighting or disappoint them by standing there like a statue?" "Fighting and standing are not opposites," Master Liu Wei replied. "Both require proper understanding." Growing impatient, Grathel launched his first attack. His enhanced reflexes and armor servos combined to deliver a punch that could shatter concrete. The strike moved faster than most human eyes could follow, aimed precisely at the monk's center mass. Master Liu Wei moved. It wasn't a large movement, just a subtle shift of his body that caused Grathel's punch to pass harmlessly beside him. But the timing was perfect, as if he had known exactly when and where the strike would come. "Lucky dodge," Grathel muttered, immediately following up with a combination of strikes from all four arms. His armor's targeting system tracked the human's position, calculating optimal attack vectors. Again, Master Liu Wei moved minimally but effectively. He seemed to flow like smoke around the attacks, each movement precisely calculated to avoid contact by the smallest possible margin. Grathel's fists whistled through empty air where the monk had been milliseconds before. The alien crowd began murmuring. This wasn't what they expected. The human should have been overwhelmed immediately. He's fast for an old one, Vexna observed, but he can't keep dodging forever. Grathel increased his attack rate, his armor systems pushing his reflexes to their maximum. Punches and kicks flew in a devastating barrage that would have pulverized a normal human. Yet somehow Master Liu Wei continued to avoid every strike, his movements flowing like water around stones. "Stop running and fight," Grathel roared, frustrated by his inability to land a single blow. "I am not running," the monk replied calmly, still weaving between attacks. "Are you not fighting?" The alien warrior paused, breathing heavily despite his armor's life support systems. He had been attacking at maximum intensity for several minutes without making contact once. His targeting computers couldn't predict the human's movements, and his enhanced reflexes seemed useless against someone who appeared to know where he would strike before he did. "Impossible," he muttered. "My systems are perfect. You cannot dodge what you cannot see coming." Master Liu Wei stopped moving and faced him directly. "You see the body but not the spirit. You predict the weapon but not the intent. Your machines are very clever, but they think only of what has been, not what will be." For the first time since the demonstration began, Grathel felt a flicker of uncertainty. The human had avoided dozens of attacks without seeming effort, and now stood completely relaxed, as if the violent exchange had been a gentle dance. In the alien command center, warning lights began flashing on monitoring equipment. Something unusual was happening in the combat zone, but their sensors couldn't identify what. "Commander," the ship's AI reported, "we are detecting energy anomalies around the human subject. The patterns don't match any known technology." Zakthor's mandibles clicked in irritation. "What kind of energy?" "Unknown. It appears to be biological in nature, but organized in ways that should be impossible for organic systems." The demonstration was not proceeding according to plan. Grathel's frustration reached a boiling point. His armor's computer systems displayed impossible data. 0 hits registered despite 43 separate attack sequences. The human moved with a precision that defied physics, anticipating strikes before the targeting computer had even calculated them. "Enough games," the alien warrior snarled. He activated his suit's heavy weapons mode. Energy cannons emerged from his shoulder mounts, while plasma charges built up in his gauntlets. "Let's see you dodge this." Twin beams of concentrated energy lanced toward Master Liu Wei. Each beam carried enough power to melt through steel plating. But as the deadly light approached, something extraordinary happened. The monk raised his hand palm outward in a gesture that appeared almost casual. The energy beam struck his palm and stopped. They didn't bounce off or scatter. They simply ceased to exist, as if absorbed into something unseen. The plaza fell silent except for the hum of alien technology. Even the wind seemed to pause. "Impossible," Grathel whispered. His armor's sensors showed the energy had completely dissipated upon contact with the human's hand. No heat signature, no electromagnetic disturbance, nothing. The power had simply vanished. Commander Zakthor leaped to his feet on the observation platform. "What just happened? Report." "Sir," the ship's science officer responded, his voice tight with confusion. "Our sensors show the energy was absorbed, but there's no mechanism for absorption. The human has no visible technology, no energy fields, nothing that should be capable of—" "I don't want to hear what shouldn't be possible," Zakthor snapped. "Explain what is happening." Master Liu Wei lowered his hand and smiled peacefully at Grathel. "Your weapons carry much force, but force without harmony becomes chaos. Chaos cannot stand against order." The alien warrior backed away, his weapon systems cycling through diagnostics. Everything showed normal function, yet his most powerful attacks had proven useless. "What are you? What technology are you using?" "No technology," the monk replied. "Only understanding." "Would you like me to show you?" Before Grathel could respond, Master Liu Wei began to move. But this wasn't the defensive flowing motion he had used before. This was something else entirely. a form that seemed to combine dance, meditation, and combat into something greater than the sum of its parts. As he moved, the air around him began to shimmer. Not with heat or energy fields, but with something more fundamental. The dust motes in the plaza started moving in patterns, creating geometric shapes that formed and dissolved with mathematical precision. Leaves blown by the wind curved around him in perfect spirals. Dr. Martinez watched in amazement through her instruments. The electromagnetic readings are off the charts, but not in any way we understand. It's like he's organizing reality around himself. Master Liu Wei's movements accelerated, each gesture flowing seamlessly into the next. His form became a blur of white clothing and controlled motion. And then, without any visible effort, he was suddenly standing directly in front of Grathel. The alien's armor shrieked warnings as every proximity sensor triggered at once. His enhanced reflexes tried to respond, but Master Liu Wei was already moving again, too fast and too fluid for the combat systems to track. A gentle touch on the armor's chest plate. That was all. Just the monk's fingertip making contact for the briefest instant. Grathel's entire suit went dark. 8 feet of advanced technology became dead weight as every system simultaneously failed. The warrior crashed to the ground with a sound like a falling building, his life support switching to emergency backup as his enhanced strength disappeared. Systems failure across all networks, his armor's emergency AI reported weakly. Unknown interference. Cannot restart primary functions. Master Liu Wei stepped back, not even breathing hard. Your armor is very impressive, young one, but it relies on electricity, and electricity follows certain rules. When those rules change, the armor becomes just heavy metal. The alien soldiers watching from the perimeter raised their weapons in alarm. Nothing in their experience had prepared them for technology, failing simply from human touch. Their own armor systems began running continuous diagnostics, each soldier wondering if they were vulnerable to the same impossible attack. How? Grathel gasped from inside his disabled suit. Without the armor's assistance, the weight was crushing. How did you do that? All energy seeks balance, Master Liu Wei explained patiently. Your machines store energy in patterns that create imbalance. I simply suggested they find a more harmonious arrangement. Commander Zakthor was receiving reports from across his fleet. Sir, all our equipment is functioning normally, but we're detecting massive quantum fluctuations centered on the human's position. The patterns suggest some kind of localized field manipulation, but at a scale that should require a planetary power source. Are you telling me one elderly human is generating more energy than our starship reactors? No, sir, that's what's strange. He's not generating energy. He's reorganizing it, taking chaos and making it orderly. Our computers can't model how that's possible. In the plaza, Grathel struggled to free himself from his powered armor, which had become a prison. Master Liu Wei knelt beside him with obvious concern. Are you injured, young one? No, but I don't understand. We have conquered 17 worlds. Our technology is superior to anything we've encountered. How can you do these things without any equipment at all? The monk helped the alien warrior remove his helmet, revealing a face filled with confusion rather than anger. Technology is a tool like a hammer or a sword, but tools can only do what their wielder understands. You understand machines very well, but you have forgotten other kinds of understanding. What other kinds? Master Liu Wei gestured to the plaza around them. The understanding that connects all things. The pattern that flows through stars and stones, through machines and minds. You have built wonderful tools, but you have lost touch with the foundation that makes all tools possible. Grathel sat heavily on the ground, his armor now just elaborate decoration. For the first time in his military career, he felt completely outmatched, not by superior firepower, but by something he couldn't even define. On the command platform, the alien officers were in heated discussion. What they had witnessed challenged everything they thought they knew about the universe. A species they had dismissed as primitive had capabilities that their science couldn't explain. Should we intervene? Lieutenant Vexna asked nervously. Send more soldiers? Commander Zakthor watched Master Liu Wei helping Grathel to his feet with gentle courtesy. I don't think that would help, he said slowly. I think we need to reconsider our understanding of what primitive means. The demonstration was far from over, but already the balance of power had shifted in ways no one had expected. Grathel stood unsteadily without his armor's support, his natural strength diminished by years of technological dependence. Despite his defeat, Master Liu Wei showed him the same respect he would give any honored guest, helping him to a sitting position on a nearby bench. "Rest, young warrior," the monk said kindly. "Your body is strong, but it has forgotten its own capabilities." "Forgotten?" Grathel asked, flexing his forearms experimentally. "I am Vortak. We are born warriors." "Yes, you are strong," Master Liu Wei agreed. "But observe." He gestured to the disabled armor. "When did you last move without that metal shell? When did you last trust your natural abilities instead of enhanced ones?" The alien warrior considered this. "I received my first enhancement suit at age 12. It's been 23 years since I fought without technological assistance." "Then you have spent 23 years becoming weaker, not stronger." Master Liu Wei placed his hand on a damaged section of the armor plating. "May I show you something?" Before Grathel could respond, the monk's fingers began to glow with a soft, warm light. Where he touched the damaged metal, it began to change. Dents smoothed out, scratches disappeared, and broken components realigned themselves. Within moments, the armor section looked newly manufactured. The alien soldiers monitoring from the perimeter immediately raised their weapons. "Energy manifestation," one shouted. "Unknown healing technology." "Stand down," Commander Zakthor ordered sharply. He had seen enough to know that conventional responses were useless here. "Continue observing and recording." Grathel stared at his repaired armor in amazement. "How? Our most advanced repair systems require hours to fix that kind of damage." "Damage is simply disorder," Master Liu Wei explained. "Metal remembers its proper shape, just as your body remembers its proper strength. Both need only gentle encouragement to return to harmony." To demonstrate, the monk placed his hands on Grathel's shoulders. The alien warrior felt a warmth spread through his muscles, dissolving aches he hadn't even realized he carried. His breathing became easier, his vision sharper, and strength flowed back into limbs that had grown dependent on artificial enhancement. "What are you doing to me?" Grathel asked, but his tone carried wonder rather than fear. "Nothing you cannot do for yourself with proper training. Every living being contains the pattern of perfect health. Sometimes it simply needs reminding." Master Liu Wei stepped back. "Try standing now." The Vortak warrior rose smoothly to his feet, moving with a grace he hadn't possessed in decades. His natural strength felt amplified, not by technology but by the removal of limitations he hadn't known existed. "I feel different, clearer." "You feel like yourself," the monk corrected gently, "perhaps for the first time in many years." Dr. Martinez watched the biometric readings from her scanners in disbelief. "The alien's cellular activity has increased by 40%. Muscle efficiency is up, neural response time improved. It's like his entire body has been optimized, but we're not detecting any external energy input." Secretary General Chen leaned forward. "Are you saying the monk somehow healed him?" "Not healed, enhanced, made him better than he was before. But using no technology we can detect." On the command platform, the alien officers were having similar discussions. "Report from the medical bay," Lieutenant Vexena announced. "Warrior Prime Grathel's life signs show improvement across all parameters. His physical capabilities now exceed his baseline measurements from before enhancement surgery." Commander Zakthor's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. "Improvement without technology. How is that possible?" "Sir," the science officer interjected, "I'm beginning to think we may have fundamentally misunderstood this species. Our definition of primitive assumes that technological advancement is the only measure of capability. But what if they've developed along completely different lines?" In the plaza, Master Liu Wei was addressing the growing crowd of alien soldiers who had moved closer to observe. "You have traveled far among the stars," he said, his voice carrying clearly despite its gentleness. "You have seen many worlds, many peoples. Tell me, in all your travels, have you found peace?" The soldiers looked at each other uncertainly. It was Captain Mordak who answered. "Peace, we bring order to chaos. We unite scattered civilizations under galactic law." "Order imposed from outside is not peace," the monk replied. "It is merely the absence of visible conflict. True peace comes from understanding, from harmony between what is and what should be." "Philosophy won't stop plasma cannons," Mordak growled, though his tone lacked its earlier confidence. Master Liu Wei smiled. "Let me show you something." He walked to a section of the plaza where alien weapons had scorched the concrete during their landing. The stone was blackened and cracked, damaged beyond easy repair. Kneeling beside the ruined pavement, the monk placed both hands on the damaged surface. Again, that gentle light emanated from his fingers, but this time it spread outward in patterns that resembled flowing water. The concrete began to change, not just healing, but transforming. The scorch marks faded, cracks sealed, and the surface became smoother and stronger than before. But the transformation didn't stop there. As the healing light spread, it revealed intricate patterns within the stone, geometric designs of incredible beauty that seemed to capture and reflect light in impossible ways. What had been simple concrete became something approaching art. Even damaged stone contains the possibility of beauty, Master Liu Wei said, standing and brushing dust from his hands. The damage doesn't destroy that possibility. It simply hides it until someone knows how to look. The alien soldiers stared at the transformed pavement. Their most advanced construction techniques couldn't have achieved such a result. Yet this elderly human had done it with nothing but touch and intention. "Commander," the communications officer called from the ship, "we're receiving requests from the other fleets. They want to know if we require assistance. The other landing sites report similar anomalies." Zakthor realized that similar demonstrations were probably happening at each landing site. Earth's representatives had been more clever than he had given them credit for. "Tell them to maintain position and observe. No aggressive action without my direct order." "Sir, what if the humans refuse to surrender? What if they have more individuals with these capabilities?" The commander looked down at Master Liu Wei, who was now teaching Grathel a simple breathing exercise that seemed to increase the warrior's strength even further. "Then, Lieutenant, we may need to reconsider what surrender means, and who should be asking for it." For the first time since beginning their conquest of Earth, the Galactic forces were experiencing something they had never encountered before: doubt about their own superiority. The transformation of the plaza had created an unexpected silence. Alien soldiers stood in wonder at the beautiful patterns now embedded in what had been damaged concrete, while their sophisticated sensors struggled to explain what they had witnessed. Master Liu Wei sat quietly in meditation posture, seemingly unaware of the cosmic significance of the moment. Commander Zakthor descended from the observation platform, his heavy footsteps echoing across the plaza. Unlike his subordinates, he moved with the confidence of someone who had conquered worlds. Though uncertainty flickered in his primary eyes. "Human," he addressed Master Liu Wei directly, "you have demonstrated abilities our science cannot explain. But healing stone and disabling armor are merely tricks. Impressive, perhaps, but not sufficient to challenge galactic authority." The monk opened his eyes and regarded the alien commander with patient interest. "You speak of authority, young one. Tell me, what gives you the right to rule others?" "Strength," Zakthor replied immediately. "Superior technology, advanced civilization, military might. We bring order to primitive worlds that cannot govern themselves." "And where does strength come from?" Master Liu Wei rose gracefully to his feet. "From your weapons? Your ships? Your armor? From knowledge. From understanding the universe and bending it to our will." Master Liu Wei nodded thoughtfully. "Understanding is indeed the source of all strength. But perhaps you understand less than you believe." The monk began to walk slowly around the plaza, his movement unhurried but purposeful. As he moved, something extraordinary began to happen. Plants growing in decorative planters around the square started to flourish visibly, their leaves growing greener and fuller. Flowers bloomed out of season and grass pushed through cracks in the pavement. "Life recognizes life," Master Liu Wei said softly. "Energy calls to energy. The universe is not separate things competing for dominance. It is one thing, expressing itself through countless forms." Dr. Martinez checked her instruments frantically. "The biological readings are incredible. Plant growth rates have increased by factors of hundreds. Oxygen levels in the immediate area are rising. It's like he's somehow accelerating the natural processes of an entire ecosystem." But the effects weren't limited to plants. The alien soldiers began to notice changes in themselves. Fatigue from long space travel disappeared. Minor injuries from training exercises healed completely. Even their equipment seemed to function more efficiently, as if the presence of harmony around them was optimizing everything it touched. "This is impossible," Lieutenant Vexna whispered, her scales shimmering with colors that indicated deep confusion. "Individual organisms cannot affect environmental systems on this scale." "Perhaps individual organisms can't," Master Liu Wei replied, having somehow heard her comment from across the plaza. But what if the separation between individual and environment is an illusion? He stopped walking and extended his arms outward, palms up. The air around him began to shimmer more intensely, and the effects of his presence started expanding beyond the immediate area. In the distance, withered trees in the city parks were beginning to green. Birds began singing with unusual vigor. Even the polluted air seemed cleaner, more invigorating. Commander Zakthor activated his personal shield generators as a precaution, but nothing happened. The harmonizing energy around Master Liu Wei didn't attack or damage. It simply existed, transforming everything it touched into a more perfect version of itself. "Stop this," Zakthor demanded. "Whatever you're doing, cease immediately." "I am doing nothing," the monk replied calmly. "I am simply being what I am, allowing what is to become what it should be. You could do the same if you chose to remember. Remember what? What you were before you forgot. What all living beings are beneath the layers of fear and ambition and need to control." Master Liu Wei's voice carried across the plaza, reaching not just the aliens present but somehow extending to the crews of every ship in orbit. "You have traveled so far from your home worlds. Tell me, do you remember why you first looked to the stars?" The question struck unexpectedly deep. Grathel, still sitting nearby, felt memories stirring, childhood dreams of exploration and discovery, wonder at the vastness of space, hope for finding something greater than himself among distant suns. Before the military, before the conquests, before the need to prove superiority through force, similar reactions rippled through the alien ranks. Each soldier, each officer, each crew member found themselves remembering older dreams, simpler dreams, dreams that had somehow been lost in the machinery of galactic conquest. "We sought understanding," Commander Zakthor said slowly, the words feeling strange on his tongue. "Knowledge of the universe. Connection with other forms of life." "Yes," Master Liu Wei said gently, "and instead you found the need to dominate." When did seeking understanding become imposing control? The harmonizing field continued to expand, and with it came a clarity of thought that many of the aliens hadn't experienced in years. The constant background stress of military life, the pressure to maintain superiority, the fear of appearing weak, all of it began to dissolve in the presence of genuine peace. "Sir," the communications officer reported from orbit, his voice strangely calm, "we're receiving reports from across the fleet. Stress levels dropping, equipment efficiency improving, conflicts between crew members resolving spontaneously. Whatever's happening down there, it's affecting our entire force." Zakthor looked around at his soldiers, seeing them as if for the first time. Their postures were more relaxed, their expressions more open. The constant tension of military readiness had been replaced by something he could only describe as contentment. "What have you done to us?" he asked Master Liu Wei, though his tone carried curiosity rather than accusation. "Nothing that was not already within you," the monk replied. "I have simply reminded your spirits of what peace feels like. The choice of what to do with that reminder remains yours." Captain Mordak stepped forward, his usual aggression replaced by thoughtful contemplation. "Master Liu Wei, if humans possess such abilities, why haven't you used them to conquer other worlds? Why remain on a single planet when you could spread this harmony throughout the galaxy?" The monk's expression grew sad. "Because true harmony cannot be imposed, young one. It can only be chosen. To spread peace through conquest would be a contradiction that destroys the very thing we seek to share. But your world has conflicts, wars, suffering. We've observed this." "Yes," Master Liu Wei acknowledged. "Many of my people have forgotten these teachings, just as yours have forgotten the wonder that first drew you to space. The path of understanding is not easy, and it must be walked willingly by each individual. It cannot be forced upon others, no matter how good our intentions." The plaza had become a garden, not just metaphorically but literally. Plants had grown with impossible speed, creating a natural amphitheater around the speakers. The air itself seemed to sparkle with vitality, and every being present, human and alien alike, felt more alive, more connected, more aware of the profound beauty that existed in every moment. Commander Zakthor realized that everything he thought he knew about power, about strength, about superiority, had been fundamentally challenged. This elderly human had accomplished more with compassion and understanding than the Galactic fleet had achieved with all its weapons and technology. The question now was, What to do with this revelation? 3 hours after the demonstration began, the plaza had become something unprecedented in galactic history. A place where conquerors and conquered sat together in genuine peace, sharing stories and seeking understanding rather than dominance. Commander Zakthor found himself sitting cross-legged on the transformed pavement, his military bearing gradually giving way to the relaxed posture of someone finally at ease. Beside him, Secretary General Chen was explaining the concept of diplomacy, not as a tool for gaining advantage, but as a genuine attempt to find solutions that served everyone involved. On my world, Zakthor said quietly, we have a saying, the strong take what they can, the weak endure what they must. I believe this was the fundamental law of existence. Master Liu Wei, who had been listening to conversations throughout the plaza, approached them. And now? Now I think perhaps we confuse strength with force and wisdom with cleverness. We became very good at breaking things but forgot how to build them. The commander's forearms gestured to the garden that had spontaneously grown around them. This harmony you've shown us, it's not weakness, is it? Harmony requires more strength than force, the monk replied. Force can break what already exists. Harmony must create something entirely new while honoring what came before. Grathel, who had spent the last hour learning basic meditation techniques from Dr. Martinez, approached the group. His natural movements had become fluid and confident, no longer dependent on technological enhancement. Master, what you've taught us today, can others learn these abilities? Every being contains the potential, Master Liu Wei assured him. But like any skill, it requires patient practice and sincere intent. More importantly, it requires releasing the belief that others must be conquered or controlled. Lieutenant Vexna slithered closer, her scales now showing patterns of curiosity rather than aggression. Master Liu Wei, our fleet contains representatives from 47 different species. Each believes their way is superior to all others. How could such diversity ever achieve true harmony? The monk smiled. Watch. He gestured to the plaza where aliens and humans were engaged in dozens of different conversations. Kethmori officers were learning about human art from museum curators. Vortak warriors were discussing philosophy with university professors. Crystalline beings were sharing their mathematical insights with Earth scientists. Diversity is not the enemy of harmony. Uniformity is. I don't understand, Vexna admitted. A symphony requires many different instruments, each playing different notes. If every instrument played the same note, there would be no music, only noise. True harmony comes from differences working together, not from differences being eliminated. Dr. Martinez approached with her tablet full of data. Master, we've been monitoring the effects of your demonstration. The changes aren't limited to this location. We're receiving reports from around the world. Conflict zones where fighting has spontaneously stopped, environmental restoration in damaged areas, even improvements in global communication networks. It's as if the entire planet is responding to what happened here. All things are connected, Master Liu Wei explained. Change the pattern in one place with sufficient clarity, and the pattern everywhere begins to shift toward greater harmony. But the shift must be chosen and maintained by each individual or it will fade. Commander Zakthor stood, his expression thoughtful. Master, I came here to demand Earth's surrender. Instead, I find myself questioning everything the Galactic Coalition represents. We've been spreading order through force, but what you've shown us suggests that true order can only come through understanding. What will you tell your superiors? Secretary General Chen asked. The truth, Zakthor replied, that we encountered a civilization that challenged our fundamental assumptions about strength, progress, and the nature of advancement itself. That perhaps being primitive in technology doesn't mean being primitive in wisdom. And what of the conquest? General Harrison asked. The Coalition sent you to bring Earth under galactic authority. The alien commander was quiet for a long moment, watching his soldiers engaged in peaceful exchanges with humans. I think, he said finally, that the question of who should be learning from whom needs to be reconsidered. Over the following days, something unprecedented occurred in galactic history. Instead of demanding Earth's surrender, the alien fleet requested permission to establish cultural exchange programs. Scientists from dozens of worlds wanted to study human approaches to philosophy, meditation, and what they began calling organic technology, the manipulation of natural forces through understanding rather than machinery. Master Liu Wei returned to his mountain monastery, but not before agreeing to help establish learning centers where both humans and aliens could explore the deeper patterns that connected all life. The old monk seemed pleased that his simple demonstration had opened possibilities for genuine communication between species. Did we win? Dr. Martinez asked Secretary General Chen as they watched the alien ships repositioning themselves from invasion formation to peaceful orbit. I don't think it was about winning, Chen replied. I think it was about remembering that we're all part of something larger than ourselves. 6 months later, the first Galactic Academy of Harmonic Sciences opened its doors on Earth, welcoming students from across the known galaxy. Grathel, now serving as a cultural liaison rather than a warrior, often taught classes on the difference between technological enhancement and natural development. The coalition's policies of conquest through force didn't change overnight. Such massive institutions resist transformation, but seeds of different thinking had been planted. And throughout the galaxy, individuals began asking new questions about the nature of strength, the purpose of civilization, and the possibilities that emerged when differences were celebrated rather than eliminated. Master Liu Wei continued tending his garden in the mountains, largely unaware that his simple demonstration of ancient principles had begun reshaping galactic civilization. When asked by visiting students about his role in these changes, he would smile and point to the bamboo growing in his garden. The bamboo does not struggle to grow, he would say. It simply expresses its nature fully, and in doing so, it transforms the entire mountainside. We are all bamboo, young ones. We need only remember how to grow. And throughout the galaxy, beings who had forgotten how to grow in anything but conquest and accumulation began to remember older ways of becoming strong. Ways that built rather than broke, that connected rather than separated, that found strength not in dominating others, but in discovering the profound harmony that connected all things. The mock battle in Geneva had lasted only a few hours. Its consequences would echo across the stars for generations to come.